Welcome to Popcast Deluxe episode 3, the us, ourselves, and our microphones of weekly cultural review. I am John Caramonica.
I'm Joe Coscarelli.
We are here to talk about, I would say it's less about the week in fakes as much as the month, the season of fakes.
Season of fakes. I like that.
Yeah, it's a season of fakes. We are going to get into recent innovations in AI, and I use that term innovation extremely lightly. I also use the term AI maybe like extremely lightly. We're going to talk about an unexpected hit, which is Luke Combs' cover of Fast Car by Tracy Chapman, which has been all over the Billboard Hot 100 and the country charts and country radio. We're going to take questions from y'all, and we are going to do songs of the week. And everything is kind of a piece.
Yeah. We have a thematically linked episode today.
We worked hard on that.
Yeah.
No chat GPT. We did that ourselves. Should we start?
Let's go.
I have a feeling that you have heard this brand new collaboration from Taylor Swift and Harry Styles, right?
Yeah. Biggest song in the world, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
Like two superstars, top of their game, exes,
sharing backstory, sharing lore, competing lores, finally on one song.
working together.
Should we listen to it?
Yeah, a little bit of Taylor Swift and Harry Styles.
So that was I Just Want You. Ha ha. Gotcha, Joe. I gotcha. I Just Want You is not, in fact, by Taylor Swift and Harry Styles. Sorry if we duped you. This is a song that I stumbled onto on TikTok a few days ago. It is made by a South African indie pop singer-songwriter named Zubin, who has been marketing his music by doing AI covers of the song.
Of his own songs.
Of his own songs, right. So I Just Want You is available on Spotify. Should we listen to a second of it?
A little bit of Zubin's
This is
version.
Zubin, I Just Want You. It's Zubin's version. Yes. So Zubin's been doing this and tricking poor me.
Were you fooled? No. It was advertised as AI?
It was not advertised as AI.
Okay.
Later, like in the comments, if you look at the responses, and obviously on later TikToks, there's just like 10 or 15 TikToks that are sort of generated in that arc. It's taught AI is brought up, and then there's like a Drake version and so on and so forth.
Right.
But as far as like music marketing strategies go, this is like a very clever way to market your original music. Now, that said, I Just Want You on Spotify right now, only about 5,000 streams.
Okay. About to go way, way up after being featured on Popcast Deluxe.
Maybe to 6,000 streams. But I do think the song is catchy, and there's probably no way I would have found it apart from this.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit. We have a long micro history of generative voice AI, right?
Yeah.
That we're going to get into. But what do you make of this as kind of like a marketing strategy?
I mean, I think it's a good little twist on this moment that we're in, right? People realize they could use these voice emulator AI tools to basically take on the persona and the timbre of well-known, recognizable voices. You know, we're seeing a lot of Drake, a lot of Kanye West, a lot of Ye, a lot of Michael Jackson, some Harry Styles.
The most horrific thing that you played for me was the Michael Jackson version of Pound Town.
Right,
I'm not going to.
Not safe for work.
We are not going to play that. I just want to be clear. We are not going to play that. But that is horrific.
Yeah. Friend of the pod, Nate Freeman, said that he was listening to Popcast, regular recipe mailbag, which we recommend, where I mentioned this Michael Jackson doing Pound Town, by Sexy Red. And he was like, "Oh, so I was in the grocery store and I clicked out of the podcast and I went to listen to a little bit of this." And he was like, "It was the most horrifying and disorienting."
Did he play it like openly in the grocery store?
Hopefully on the AirPods, but
he didn't Bluetooth it to the overhead speakers.
I think like you would be arrested on the spot if you played Michael Jackson Pound Town in public.
I think that's fair.
we're in this moment where these sort of novelty covers are really proliferating online. And you have fans making their sort of dream versions. Speaking of Harry and Taylor, I think like you have people playing, like you said, with the lore. So you have Harry AI doing Style by Taylor Swift, which is about Harry Styles. So that's like, you know, relatively clever. Maybe some fans online want to play it. You're seeing these things proliferate mostly not on real streaming services, but as clips like on Twitter and on TikTok.
Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm.
But then taking that moment of virality and viral experimentation and then applying it to your own song is, I think, very clever and savvy, and it's working. So you said the song itself has 5,000 streams on Spotify. The TikTok
630,000 views. Again,
exponential.
Not like a world killer, but maybe eventually I can see this going to 1 million, 1.5 million, 2 million, unless a lawyer gets involved at some point, which could happen maybe in the wake of this. We apologize, Zubin.
I mean, I think to give Zubin one more push, like as an SEO editor, I think he wrote that it was for the Barbie soundtrack.
Yes.
So he's just like just taking in all currents of culture.
You asked me if I was duped, and I will say probably the thing that allowed me to be duped for like 5 minutes was the fact that it said Barbie soundtrack.
And you're like, okay, maybe they had the muscle to get Taylor and Harry together.
It's like just enough of an event to kind of be like, hey, I bet we can get these two people in a room together, or at least on a song together. Right. So like, good on you. That was good. I feel like for the last 2 months, on so many different occasions, there's been this urge or pressure, not applied to me directly, but just in the universe of like, to have comment on this.
Yep.
And almost every time I've tried to come up with something, I'm like, I feel like it's a joke. Like I don't think it's like a 1,000-word serious essay. I think it's a joke. And I was trying to think of parallels. Mostly we're talking about covers.
Right.
And in this case, in this one case, we're talking about a cover of an existing song by an unknown artist. And also, theoretically, that's sort of how the Drake Weeknd song.
Yeah, should we pull back and just talk about Heart on My Sleeve for a sec?
Yeah.
I came in with my ex like Selena, the flex, bumping Justin Bieber, the fever and left.
So we've been sort of waiting on the music version of these generative AI, easy-to-use online softwares.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And instead, what we get are something that have sort of existed in a form for quite a while, which is like this voice emulator, which is a la auto-tune. Yes. You can basically take an existing song, separate out the vocal stems, run it through a filter, and have it sound like someone else.
Yes.
It's basically an instrument. It's a filter.
Or it's it's literally just a meme.
Right. And these have been used mostly to make memes. Heart on My Sleeve comes out, and the difference with that one is it was put on official streaming services. It was on TikTok, and then it was on Spotify.
Someone
and
figured
Apple,
out a backdoor to get it onto those services.
By an artist called Ghostwriter, allegedly by AI Drake and AI The Weeknd. And what's happening there is a little different than the fan-made covers, which is seemingly this person wrote an original song
in the style of Drake and The Weeknd,
and then recorded it using their own voice, and then changed the voices to sound like famous people. It was a great marketing trick. We haven't seen that many of these original compositions in the style of, because that's like kind of hard to pull off. Like you have to have some skill.
I mean, I'd be actually curious. Moving forward, we know a lot of artists work with writers, whether like in a formal capacity or in a ghostwriting capacity. I'd actually be curious if the future of some of the bigger stars' actual music is a ghostwriter records a demo of a verse, which is then has the superstar's filter applied on top of it, and that is effectively the song. I can see this happening to some degree in hip hop, although there is like the rhythmic qualities of rapping where the breaths are like sometimes it's not exactly natural to parallel from a ghostwriter to a performer. I do want to talk about memes, but I also want to talk a little bit about other ways in which celebrity voices or images have been misappropriated in this like most recent time window. When Cameo, do you remember there was that period, probably 2021, when famous people were being paid to say things with like political meaning or unexpected.
Right, hacking Cameo, basically.
Yes, exactly. That's what this reminds me of. I want a famous person to say the thing that I want them to say.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to do. In Cameo, it happened to be the real famous person, and all you had to do was pay $100, and they would say it because they're not. Apparently, they weren't Googling or fact checking or doing
they're just reading off the
script
provided.
Right.
Yeah.
But it reminded me a little bit of that. The other thing it reminds me of, and this is like almost dark. Someone, I won't say who, but someone sent me a video of a wedding that they were at where Ashanti was the entertainment at the wedding.
Okay.
Singing Ashanti songs, also maybe covering something.
Yeah.
But also saying like, congratulations to Tom and Tom. You know.
Yeah.
I saw a recent video
to
like
Tom and Tom.
Tom and Tom. Yeah, sure. That was a great wedding. It was in the Times. Busta Rhymes, I feel like I saw a video at a wedding. I'm sure there's like any number of like Bas Mitzvah videos.
Well, there's the
Rocky.
New Yorker feature from last week about how all musicians are now bar mitzvah musicians.
Yes, although to be honest, AI Flo Rida, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference between that and real Flo Rida. Sorry, truly. The idea that for a price, any famous person is probably available for the right price to do a thing that you would not expect them to do. That to me makes this AI movement, not only does it make it more plausible in like a big picture way, it makes me think that in a sense we're already there. Like, is not hiring Ashanti to play your wedding and say the things that you want Ashanti to say, like, is there not something like kind of similar between that and generative vocal AI?
Except consent is the question here.
Sure.
Right? Like Ashanti, again, if the price is right, who knows what you could get her to show up to. We'll pay her to be on Popcast Deluxe next week.
We don't pay sources.
But that's where the risks of these voice, eventually, another word for them is a deepfake, a vocal deepfake.
Thank you. Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's potentially risky, and especially
like those Trump and Biden ones that were going around even before the Drake Weeknd thing.
Exactly.
Like Trump and Biden.
Exactly. And I think it raises an interesting question in that so many of the AI things that we've seen go viral in the last few months are rap based, which I don't think is a coincidence. Mm-hmm. Like the idea that you could rap something and then put it in the mouth of Drake or Kanye or Biggie or Tupac, who are not alive, obviously. Some people say this is inching towards digital blackface. Yes. Like there's mm-hmm. that idea. And even the artists who are co-signing this stuff, Grimes, for instance, who I spoke to about it a couple weeks ago and wrote about it in the paper, like she's saying, go ahead, here's a tool, you can use my voice. And I asked her, I was like, where do you draw the line in terms of people putting hateful or disinformation, hate speech or disinformation in your mouth, in your voice? And she was basically like, look, I'm down to be the guinea pig for this. And like, I'll draw the line where on a case-by-case basis where I have to. But she was like, I think it's good for people to get it out of their systems.
Is there also a possibility that if you think about the Grimes model, and the Grimes model for what it's worth is, she said she would split royalties 50-50 with any musician that wanted to use Grimes voice, Grimes AI. Is that a real name? I saw it was like on all those YouTubes that you had in your article.
Grimes AI
is like the name.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
So splitting royalties 50-50 with anybody who wanted to use it. So Grimes made this offer. Is there a version, is the 2.0 of that something similar to like the Pablo Picasso Foundation, who authenticates all works that are by Picasso? Now, obviously, those are actual works by Picasso, but is there a Grimes authentication that could be 2.0 that makes a distinction between Grimes AI that Grimes has signed off on and Grimes AI that's rogue? Like, is that actually the place that this is all heading? Because maybe this hate speech question that you're bringing up, maybe Grimes says, no, this thing, no, I would never say that. And even in the Q&A that you have, There are things where she says, I would never talk about sex this way. I would never talk. These are lyrics. They don't make me comfortable.
Right.
Is there a way is the logical next step authenticated AI, approved AI?
I think that's what she's trying to do. Like Grimes, she set up a system where she gives you the tool, she gives you the stems of her vocals that the Grimes AI is trained on.
Yeah.
You can record your own song, write and record your own song, make it sound like Grimes singing it, send it back to her. And then when they approve it, they'll put it on Spotify and official streaming services, and it'll have its own dedicated page. And that's basically the system. On the other hand, you could take the tool and upload it yourself somewhere.
Right.
And that's not authenticated, even though the tool might sound the same.
But is that the line? I guess the question that I'm wondering about is that actually the line? Like right now we think the line is it's AI or it's not AI.
Right.
Is the actual line
official
AI or bootleg AI?
Well, that's why I think, going back to this idea of the main generative AI music we're seeing are covers. They're fan-made or they're amateur musician-made, and they're focused on voice emulation. They're not songs made by robots from scratch. They are humans playing around with new tools, new technologies, new software. But the labels could push this technology forward and say, a dead artist, for instance, we could make a whole new Michael Jackson album with songs written by Babyface and Justin Timberlake, and you have Timbaland, getting in trouble for using the Notorious B.I.G. voice emulator. Like, I guess like that, like these labels can get in on the game. I spoke to Holly Herndon about this a couple weeks ago when Heart on My Sleeve came out. She's an experimental musician who's been playing around in the generative AI space for years, 5+ years. And she said a friend of hers calls this cultural fracking, which I think is a great term. Okay. That using these technologies, you're gonna be able to go back and, mine new music out of long deceased artists. And I think like once that's signed off on by estates and labels, like you're right, we're going to be seeing a lot more of this stuff as long as it's authorized and everyone's getting paid who feels that they should be getting paid.
The economics haven't caught up, number one. Number two, there was an article maybe in the Washington Post about a woman who is a voiceover artist, like does, hold calls or stuff like that, who found that her voice had been used, basically been grokked and used for something. And she was like, well, where's the role of the human? And again, I'm not trying to be like overly cynical here, but maybe it's not so much that shouldn't happen as she's not being paid appropriately. Like maybe the future of voiceover or voice artists is uploading a data file and saying, hey, instead of paying me by the hour or paying me some kind of use fee,
license my tool.
Yes. Like instead of paying me $200 an hour plus a read fee, you're paying me $3,000 or $5,000 plus ongoing royalties, and then make me say whatever you want to make me say. And obviously me and my lawyers will sign off on it, authenticated AI. Maybe that's what's coming. Like, again, forgive me, I don't want to get into like a labor battle here, but I do think those with vested financial interests in this business are actively going to be working on business models, like we'll be moving towards better compensation models for use cases like that. That'd be my guess.
Right.
If you're a lawyer and you're working on a contract to improve pay for potential AI voiceover, popcast@nytimes.com. I'd love to chat with you.
But so these are those sort of big picture things. But as you've mentioned, like right now we're sort of living in this moment of novelty. And I want to talk to you about some of these covers that are popping up in these fan communities. But I asked.
Okay, did you want to talk about the Biggie one? The Timbaland? Okay,
yeah,
but I want to start.
Yeah, well, I think this is an interesting jumping off point because I asked Holly initially. I was like, why do you think it is, that these stunty ones like Drake and the Weeknd, or like Harry covering Taylor or Kanye covering Drake.
Slash fiction also.
Right. So I was like, why do you think that these are the ones that have risen to the top most quickly? And she had a good answer, which I think is a jumping off point for us. She said it was inevitable. When I started training neural nets in 2017, the first thought that comes to mind is to make a parody of the biggest stars. But I found that disinteresting and maybe a little disrespectful. Giving people the power to make meme art very quickly is going to be a real cultural force. And we've seen that in the months since this interview. She said, quote, what if Harry Potter was a Balenciaga model?
Avada Balenciaga.
What if Nicki Minaj sang a duet with Frank Sinatra?
I did it my way.
That's fun, but I think the novelty will eventually be exhausted. Advertisers will love it, and companies can continue to make hay from their old famous catalogs. That's the cultural fracking thing. Or there's identity play. That's what she calls the other thing, which is more of what Grimes is doing, which is saying, my voice is an instrument, use it to your ends. I think we're somewhere in between, but what we're seeing a lot more of are the novelty versions. And then when you have someone step into the identity play thing, like for instance, Timbaland using Biggie, that's where people get allergic to it. Like everyone's fine when it's a novel meme, but then when you're putting new words in the mouth of a dead guy,
that's not.
Then everyone's like, ooh, I'm a little uncomfortable with that.
Yeah,
where are you as a music consumer and fan and critic?
Okay, so a couple things. One, the thing about how fan communities function and how memification of celebrity works. And again, we're always going to come back to Drake with stuff like this. But like you think about the Hotline Bling video, literally designed to be extricated GIFs out of that and spread around.
Call me on my cell phone. Late night when you need.
It's designed for that.
Right, a meme machine.
Drake understood that his celebrity is rooted in his cultural product and his personal presence, but it also existed in the communities of fans who wanted to talk about him, spread visuals and sonics and ideas about him. Drake fandom, maybe more than almost any other contemporary pop star fandom, is both here and out here, right? And so Drake leaned into that. This is like what's happening here is just like the next logical extension. Like, I don't know if we're going to get licensed Drake AI, but there might end up being so much interest in licensed Drake AI that there's no choice. The other thing with the Drake stuff, and we can talk maybe in more detail about individual songs, but the other thing about the Drake stuff is there is so much Drake music, so much, that part of the thing with these gotcha moments is you're like, damn, is this just something I haven't heard?
Right, just some leaked Drake demo.
Baby mama acting like I'm mean. Said I did she dirty, but I'm creamy. Yeah, get what she mean. Whoa, whoa.
There's so much Drake music that it's plausible. And I think that's why it works more with Drake. Like some of the other stuff that we've talked about, you know, Michael Jackson doing Pound Town, whatever. Like, obviously you're like, come on. But with Drake, it's very viable. As far as putting words in the mouth of a dead person, I mean, should we talk about the Biggie Smalls and Timbaland thing?
Yeah, I mean, what do you make of it?
Should we listen to it?
Yeah, listen to a second of Timbaland talking about it and then playing whatever he's creating.
Yes, whatever that is.
I got to share something I've been working on because I always wanted to do this, and I never got a chance to. I always wanted to work with Big, and I never got a chance to. Until today. It came out right. Play.
I didn't love this.
And right, this is where we start to get uncomfortable as humans.
Okay, I didn't love it for a couple reasons. I don't love it as music.
Right.
You know, Timbaland, when he's talking about it, I hate to say it, but it's like real rich guy plaything.
Right.
Like it's real like, I can do this. I always wanted to work with Biggie. And now I can.
Sure.
I waited 20 years. Now the tools are finally available. I can make something happen. If you genuinely wanted to work with Biggie, like truly, and I don't doubt that he genuinely wanted to work with Biggie, why would you make Biggie say, it's giving? Why would you have Biggie mention Nipsey Hussle, a rapper who did not exist during Biggie Smalls' lifetime?
Right.
This is the thing. If you want to make a great Biggie Smalls record, make a great Biggie Smalls record. There are templates for that. But the kind of confusion, the intersections of the timelines of the various realities, this reminds me of, I'm not going to remember the name of the song, but I think it was like, there was like a posthumous Jay Dilla album and someone it's the conceit of the record, and like, forgive, like, Ethan, if I've messed this up, forgive me. But like, I believe the conceit of the record is everybody was supposed to be rapping as if J Dilla was like there.
Okay, like to him.
Or like as if it was a current song.
Sure. As if he was producing, he was on the other side of the glass.
Exactly.
Right.
And like someone on the record basically says R.I.P. J Dilla.
And then you like you screwed up the...
You ruined the timelines. You ruined the timelines. That's how I feel about this. I also just don't think it's like good as music.
Right. I mean, yes.
But like on a basic level, the kind of we've like wired everything into the like I've plugged this plug into there and this plug into there and nothing lines up.
Yeah.
That to me is like way less forgivable than like it's a bad song.
Yeah.
There are plenty of bad songs that are at least plausible.
Right.
This is an implausible
No,
song.
it's a
that
cultural off note.
Totally
Biggie
wrong.
reviews the Succession finale. You know, it's just like
low key. Better. That would be better. That would be better. It's next week on Popcast Deluxe.
Okay. Are there any of these that
every week on Popcast Deluxe, like we're gonna have all like Jim Morrison reviews the success.
Okay,
Jim Morrison on The Idol.
Here's another fan call. If anyone can take a clip of us speaking on Popcast Deluxe,
I literally can't believe you're gonna do this,
and make it sound like it's Taylor Swift and Harry Styles,
fine.
please send it to
that's
us.
Fine.
Nobody dead, please, and no cross-racial.
Do we have
references.
to tell them which one of us is Taylor, which one of us is Harry? Because I know which is which.
I want them to pick, and then we'll say if it's right or not.
Because I know which is which. I have a feeling you also know which is which. I'm just saying. That's all. So the Timberland Biggie thing, like.
A two-tiered question for you. Are there any of these that you enjoy on the novelty meme level, and are there any of these that you enjoy on a purely musical level?
Okay, so genuinely, I thought Heart on My Sleeve was fine.
Okay.
I genuinely, and did we say this on regular podcast? How I actually heard it? Okay.
You heard it outside.
I heard it for real. Like, I almost thought it was like a plant. I thought maybe you were like playing a trick on me.
Like some guy rolling down the street.
Yeah, like playing it from where? TBD.
Yeah.
Unknown.
But like blasting it as if it was a real Drake
like a
song.
guy on like a bicycle riding through Soho, blasting it. And in the time period after it had been taken down from streaming services. Right. So like it didn't exist on YouTube. It didn't exist. Maybe there was like a rogue TikTok or something, but it didn't exist. And yet my guy had absolutely like grabbed the MP3 and was just bumping riding around Soho. So
you weren't as offended by it. I think as I was.
But what's the offense?
I took issue with people being like, this is the same as a Drake song. I'm like, well, no, give the guy a little bit of credit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if Ghostwriter was half the songwriter that Drake or The Weeknd are, then we would know more about Ghostwriter, you know? And look, maybe Ghostwriter is someone we know, but...
Yeah, I also don't totally know... I think there are people who are good emulators.
Sure.
And also, we have to remember, how do people learn to rap? This is something that's come up a lot for us lately for things that we've been working on. Like, how do people learn to rap? They learn to rap by emulating what they hear and then versioning or iterating upon that. Same thing with singing. But I think especially with rapping and verse construction,
right?
I think there are plenty of people who could write plausible Drake verses in the style of Drake right now. I bet there's
Jack Harlow.
Oh,
sorry, had to.
Unbelievable.
Okay,
and Clab.
What about these grime songs? Were there any of these that you were like, okay, they got something here? Like this person wrote a song, either it sounds like Grimes or it doesn't, but then they use the Grimes voice as an instrument. And it hits. Like, are any of these good? I don't know. I interviewed her about it, and I had her sort of review them on the spot. And she was very generous, but I think she's caught up in the
sort of the novelty and the
we're
doing
she wants
something
to
new.
Push into the future, which I respect.
But here's something
musically, do we need any of these?
Okay, let's talk about the difference between Grimes AI and Drake AI. Okay. The music that Drake makes naturally, organically, that comes out of the studio with 40, right? It is not deeply synthetic music. It is not music that relies somewhat on the suspension of belief in a human figure.
It does rely on
I'm sorry, suspension of disbelief. Like, you need to believe it's really Drake.
Yes.
That's what makes a Drake song great, specifically a Drake song.
Yeah.
The humanity, like, you know what Drake is about.
Right. And the people who hate him would say that that's what's lacking.
Well, or the people who hate him would say, I know what he's about and I just don't bang with it.
Okay.
Like, it's just, that is not true of Grimes music. It has never been true of Grimes music. And so the fact that there is a syntheticness that's endemic already to actual Grimes music makes these songs, I don't love all these songs, but like, if you told me this first song, let's listen to this first song. It's called Cold Touch, Keto featuring Grimes AI.
Fool me like I'm yours forever. You could be the one that made me cry. Lay me up inside. I'm sleeping in your worn sweater. I'm just trying to let her read the signs. Won't you tell me why? Oh, why? Ooh, the cold touch, you pulling me all night.
If this song, if you just was on Grimes album number 6, track 6, I don't think you or I would like blink at all.
And she said that. I was like, could I have convinced you that you wrote the song? And she was like, maybe, like, not exactly, because there's a bunch of stuff I wouldn't do. But she was like, you could have convinced me that I worked on it like 5 years ago and just forgot about it. And again, I think she is well aware that this is why she's ripe for this, because she says, I've always been trying to make myself unnecessary. Like, I've always been trying to turn myself into a robot. Basically.
Same girl.
She's like, I wish that I was in the cloud, you know? So that I think you're right, it works. There's also this one by Alt A, I think is how you say it. Savages.
Yeah.
Which,
we should listen to that.
Yeah, which uses a little bit of Jay-Z weaved in with the actual rappers in this group.
Let's listen to a little bit of that.
Tell the young they can never become what they aspire to. Born in a cell with no one who can inspire you.
Your highs are never as high as those that lie to you.
Pretending that they live in the sky, lying behind your roof.
Shooting holes up at your ceiling, trying to find a proof.
This was, to me, a lot about breath work. And again, I don't want to be like, it's good if it's plausible and it's bad if it's implausible. I don't think that's exactly the right metric. But I think if you're going to play with these tools, in part to dupe, maybe that's why the Zubin thing kind of works, because it does sound like how Taylor Swift sings. Mm-hmm. It does sound like how more Taylor than Harry. But I'd say how Taylor sings, that's a plausible take on how Taylor sings. It's an almost plausible take on how Harry sings. The Jay thing, that's not how Jay raps.
Right. But the voice itself,
the voice is very good. But it's not how he raps. It's not how he clusters syllables.
Yeah.
Also, Jay is not that much of a literalist when it comes to like where the syllables land.
Yeah.
Jay will put stuff together. He'll spread stuff out. He'll take long pauses.
Yeah.
He'll adjust his voice. He'll go up and he'll come down. Like, he'll do all those things. That song's not doing any of that stuff.
Right.
So to me, the closest analog for that song is the Zubin song. And the Zubin song does like, also Zubin, not to be confused with Lil Zubin. Just we know it's not Lil Zubin. The Jay song doesn't do what the Zubin song. I mean, this song doesn't do what the Zubin song does.
I would just want to zoom through a couple more on the novelty side. This one I think is really funny because it's quite redundant. Michael Jackson doing "I Feel It Coming" by The Weeknd.
Play it.
We don't have to rush when you're alone with me. I feel it coming. I feel it coming, baby.
When you played this for me, I didn't know that that's what this was.
Yeah, you're like, this is "I Feel It Coming" by The Weeknd.
Yeah, just maybe like through a weird speaker.
Yeah. This one I found quite funny, actually, is Kanye doing Billy Currington's "Good Directions."
She had Hollywood written on a license plate. She was lost and looking for the interstate. Leading direction.
Not really a Billy Currington fan, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
But Sure.
It's like it doesn't sound that much like Kanye. It's not that well known of a song.
Yeah.
Just amusing that somebody thought to put those things together.
Yeah, that person is a Popcast listener.
Yeah, spiritually.
Spiritually, 3 episodes, hip hop country crossover on all 3 episodes. That person,
Bingo.
that person's in our DMs. That
Yeah.
person's in our inbox. That person might have a sticker or a T-shirt. We salute you.
Yeah. I want to ask you a bigger question, which is, and a quite loaded one. Why do you think so many of these have relied on the voice of Kanye West? Yay.
Okay, couple reasons. One, we are lacking in new Kanye West music. Obviously, he has a huge source file from which to work,
Sure.
but so does Drake.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing I would add is about something that is not present in all of these songs, but is I think crucial for these Kanye songs, which is frisson, which is to say, to make a person say a thing that they would not ordinarily say.
Mm-hmm.
Kanye has such a defined personality and also, frankly, a history of going in unexpected directions. It's not that the frisson makes these songs more plausible, but the gap that they're closing between a Billy Currington record and a Kanye vocal is like somehow vaster. It wouldn't work to have Drake doing the Billy Currington records. It's not as funny.
Yeah.
But to have
Because Drake would jump on a Billy Currington record if he could.
He might already have jumped on a Billy Currington record. We just haven't heard it.
Yeah.
But the idea that Kanye, who has such fixed versions of himself or self-presentation in the world, even if that changes and is kind of like mutable and has been over the years, that sense of frisson, I think, is what makes this group. And you pointed out to me that there's like a whole Reddit or something.
Yeah, there's a community called Yay Edits, which I think pre-existed the AI conversation and tools, but because there's so much leaked Kanye music and rumored Kanye music
sure.
and spare verses and stuff, like there's a community of amateur sort of remixers who play with it like Lego blocks. And now with these AI tools,
STEM player.
Exactly. He's lent himself to this.
Yeah, exactly.
So they've then taken on making AI covers. So you've got Love Yourself.
Oh, baby, you should go and love yourself.
You've got Somebody You Used to Know by Gautier.
Now you're just somebody that I used to know.
You've got As It Was, Harry Styles, Shake It Off, Taylor Swift. As I said, people like to play with associations in that way.
Yeah.
You have Kanye West doing Fast Car, which we'll come back to.
We will come
in a
back
few
to
minutes.
that.
But I
that,
think
and I should say for the record, I don't want to play it. It's not good.
it's not good.
It's not good.
The quality of these things varies wildly, but I think we're very much fixed in this meme moment of novelty. We've talked about, Lindsay on regular Popcast mentioned that it reminds her of downloading weird covers on Napster or LimeWire.
Yeah, or mashups, like unexpected mashups.
It's a mashup thing.
Yeah.
It's like a soundboard, like for prank calls.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know. There's also communities online that are constantly trying to track down leaks and demos from their favorite artists. Playboy Cardi, Drake, Kanye, Travis Scott all have big fan communities looking for leaks. Taylor Swift as well.
Sure.
Someone scammed Frank Ocean fans who are so starved for anything, so starved for love, warmth,
be
attention,
showered with attention,
music, merch, anything,
Yeah.
that people basically banded thousands of dollars together to pay for leaked Frank Ocean songs that were in fact AI generated. There's a piece on Vice about this.
I also think it'd be funny if, look, who knows if Frank's going to put out more music anytime soon, but it would sort of be rich if the only official Frank Ocean statements that were to come out were to be refuting or denial or shooting down the leaks and saying those are not official.
Yeah.
If his
thumbs up emoji or thumbs down
like
emoji.
if his sort of like true public presentation is basically reduced to be like, that's not real, that's not real, that's not real, that's not real. If that's really what he,
Would you believe him? Okay, so we're just firmly in this moment of memes and scams and novelty and silliness, right? Like, are we growing? Like, can there be more? Can AI be more than novelty? Or is it like the metaverse and virtual reality, and it's just going to never be quite good enough to like dominate?
This is a good segue, I think, to talking about Luke Combs.
You got a fast car, and I want to take it to anywhere. Maybe we make a deal.
If you had told me that this Luke Combs Fast Car cover,
right, which is a huge hit,
number 8 on the Hot 100 as we speak. If you had told me that this Fast Car cover, the recording of it, was an AI cover,
you'd be like, damn, that AI is sharp.
Totally plausible. I think originally when we were talking about Fast Car, we were going to have some big conversation of, is it good? Is it working? Da, da, da. But the more that we're talking about AI, and we have been recently, the more I'm thinking of Luke Combs covering Fast Car as kind of like human AI.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I have done all the reading. I know that Luke Combs covers Fast Car in concert.
For many years.
Yeah, like it's been part of the repertoire. I also think that like, much like Hootie and the Blowfish, Darius Rucker, moving into country because Hootie songs are sort of like de facto country rock songs.
Right.
Fast Car, you can kind of make the case that it's like an alt country song or always was, even though alt country kind of wasn't, you know, like, I mean, Uncle Tupelo era, whatever,
Sure.
but it like that
but
wasn't.
Its bones are country-ish.
Yeah, it's close enough. So you can make the case that like it was always a country or quasi-country song, and he's just literalizing it. But what I was actually really thinking in the big picture is like, should someone at Luke Combs' label take 10 to 20 classic songs and apply a Luke Combs vocal filter to them, and in a private meeting at that label, play those 20 songs and say, of these, 1 or 2 are viable to release? And maybe it's viable to release in the sense that he then goes in a studio and cuts it.
Sure.
But if we're using it as like
it's research and development.
Yes, it's an exploratory tool. If you have all this Luke Combs energy and you can't possibly have it going in all these different directions, should you have someone at your label figuring out what would a Luke Combs cover of A sound like? What would a Luke Combs cover of B sound like? And then maybe in turn, focus grouping it, call out testing, whatever they do with radio these days. And it's like a real 90s reference, but like whatever they're doing with radio these days. And then deciding that's a single for us. And then it goes out into the world. Is that a use of AI that something like the Luke Combs cover of Fast Car portends? On a very basic level, the song is fine. It doesn't have nearly the nerve of the original. Luke Combs has this unfortunate thing where all songs sound basically the same. Like his voice is so husky and so robust and so big that it kind of like stifles difference a little bit. It's like, I would say it sandpapers everything down, but it's not. It makes everything like sandpaper. It's like the opposite somehow. It makes everything like sandpaper. But it makes me think, if there is, in theory, boundless appetite for Luke Combs or Luke Combs songs,
sure,
is this creating an alternate path or an idea for an alternate path to a Luke Combs covers album or a Luke Combs covers EP, something along those lines? And if I worked at a label who had a singer that had a signature voice, I would probably be telling some intern, figure out how to do this right now.
I think this song works. I think what Luke Combs really needed in his career, he's a humongous country artist, right?
Yeah, probably second only to Wallen right now.
And one of the only ones who's streaming, seems to have a young digital fan base.
Yep.
The only thing he lacked was a crossover hit. This is that. This is moving to pop radio. This is moving up the pop charts. It's in the top 10. Could very well hit number 1 later in the summer. It's one of the sturdiest songs ever written. Like, I think there's 2 philosophies regarding covers, which is like, this song is so good, it's off limits. And I'm on the other side, which is like, this song is so good that I'll listen to anyone play it. Like the Jonas Blue, the dueling Tropical House Fast Car covers from 2016.
Yeah.
I like them both. like, you know, are they as good as Tracy Chapman playing Fast Car, you know, live or on a recording in some of the most indelible, vocal performances of all time. Like, of course not. But like, am I ever mad when I hear Fast Car? No. Busker on the Subway? Sure. Luke Combs? Sure. Jonas Blue? Where are you? All of these Fast Cars to me are fine. And
found real drive to survive energy.
You found a hit. Like, congratulations.
So you're removing it out of like the philosophical realm and putting it more in the this is a timeless pop chestnut.
Yes.
That anybody should we do like a rhythm album, like a dancehall rhythm album with like 15 different country singers or 15 different pop singers all covering Fast Car?
I mean, the other thing
posse
is
cut
Fast Car. Yeah.
Posse cut Fast Car.
One Blood Fast Car version. Yeah. Look, I mean, we're in this age of IP. Nothing original can succeed basically anywhere except I can't even think of one.
I just very simply think it's not possible.
So if it and this brings us to a wider conversation that we've been having for now going on a year. Mm-hmm. Every big hit by a new artist sounds like an old hit by an old artist.
Either a direct ripoff or an implied ripoff.
The covers.
Free my guy Ed Sheeran though. Free my guy. Free the guy. Free the guy.
Every Lotto, Big Energy, Jack Harlow. Doing First Class Glamorous.
Read it on nytimes.com.
Yeah, this is some version of that, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like that's actually kind of a good way to get us into maybe songs of the week.
Okay.
Because I feel like our songs of the week are both touching on this.
Yeah, which honestly was not even intentional. These are just the songs that come out now.
Yes.
All sampling or interpolating songs that we remember from whenever we were
Does it mean we're getting lazy? That this is just what we chose? Wait, are we indicting ourselves?
We're indicting the music industry and ourselves hand in hand.
You want to go first?
Yeah, okay. So I just couldn't believe that this song exists. My song of the week is by Doughboy.
Yeah.
A longtime Future associate.
Yes.
There's another term for it.
But we will.
But we won't. We'll leave it out.
Uh-huh.
I think Doughboy is originally from Cleveland, but he's thought of as an Atlanta rapper. He has a lot of pretty good music that nobody really listens to except Drake and us. Yeah. And he's a local thing. But he has this new single called Way I Walk, which is, let's just listen to it. You'll know what it is.
This a Drake, not a tech. Pull up, try and blaze, son. And everybody got a check till it's time to pay for son. Gang shit, just the way I talk. I don't drive by no more, it's just the way I walk. Gang shit, he had them things got crossed. She don't fuck with road lanes, is why your main got bought.
So that's a pretty straight ahead interpolation and sample of I'm Real remix. Jennifer Lopez featuring Ja Rule and Ashanti, which itself is a sample of Rick James's Mary Jane. Mm-hmm. This is a pretty bald attempt to make a street rapper a pop rapper.
Right.
Yeah.
Crossover.
I mean, we've seen it work in the past few years. Does it work for Doughboy? I don't know.
It reminded me a little bit of sort of Sample Drill, New York Sample Drill, where this record that you have, the Doughboy record, feels a lot like cleaner and tighter.
Very
and
smooth.
Very polished.
Very
Whereas
polished.
Sample Drill is like a lot more chaotic.
Yeah.
And, staticky at the fringes.
Yeah, Sample Drill colors outside the lines, even though the lines are very well defined.
Right.
And this song, I think, stays within the lines, which is not something that you really think of Doughboy doing. But I think, the nostalgia aspect of it really works for me because I'm Real Remix was huge in whatever it was, 2001. I was 13 years old. You know what I mean? It's like burned into my brain and I'll never be mad at hearing it like Fast Car.
Right.
So is this going to work for him? Is he going to be the next Jack Harlow? Probably not. But I think this is a novel record and I wouldn't mind hearing it on the radio or at a party.
When will Doughboy cover Luke Combs? How many steps away are we of Doughboy covering Luke Combs? Okay, my song of the week.
Yeah, what do you got?
Again, this is unplanned. I do want to emphasize this. This is not planned.
This is just what's happening in the world.
Where we're at. Okay, so Nia Archives, who is a jungle producer and songwriter, British, who's had a relatively big year. There's a Nia Archive story that the paper did last year. Nia Archives has a new song. It's called Off With Your Heads.
Spelled in British.
Yes. So sorry to all of our British viewers. I apologize. This song is based off of an A-Track remix. Shout out A-Track. An A-Track remix of Yeah Yeah Yeah's Heads Will Roll.
Right.
Now, this is an interesting arc from a song that I don't like being remixed into something I kind of like, being reimagined into something I very much like.
Okay.
So I'm glad, 10 years or 12 years after the original, we finally arrived at like
maybe more.
Yeah, was when like 07, 08, something like that.
I guess it's
15 years.
late.
Maybe. Maybe 15 years. I appreciate finally getting to a John approved version of this song. So let's listen to Off With Your Heads. This is IP core.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Has anybody coined that yet?
I mean,
should have coined that last year.
It's ours.
Okay, IP core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a crazy story on a lot of levels, which is that this has somehow become the defining Yeah 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 song via remix. Like, this song is huge. I haven't checked the streaming numbers, but I bet you it's up there with Maps. You want to look it up? You what's your bet? Over under
Heads Will Roll or Maps?
100 million streams over under, and more or less than Maps by Yeah Yeah Yeahs, which to me is the real defining Yeah
Yeah,
Yeah
Maps
song.
is the song. I'm going to say it's more than Maps, and I'm going to say it's not over 100, but I'm going to say it's more than Maps.
All right.
Let's see. Okay, Maps on Spotify alone, 154 million streams.
Okay. So the over under was right.
Heads Will Roll original version, 216 million.
Wow.
Heads Will Roll A-Track remix, 212 million.
Wow.
Heads Will Roll A-Track remix radio edit for everybody making clean playlists. Who are you weirdos? Who's making clean playlists? That's y'all are weird. The whole point of this is to not have to make cleans. Anyway, 126 million.
Wow. So if you add all those A-Track versions up.
Okay, so if you add all three versions up, 428, 528,
Math Club, John.
548, 555 million.
Heads Will Roll.
We have questions.
All right.
Actually, we have a lot of questions, but there are two questions specifically that we're going to take from a YouTube comment. And I actually think YouTube comments are a great place to leave a question.
Yeah. We're going to do this every week, by the way. Question for Joe and John. Leave it anywhere you can find us.
Just not at our homes.
Yeah, but leave it anywhere
Don't leave it
digitally that you can find us. And we'll just keep picking at random whenever we feel like it.
Okay. So these are both from @SaddestNightOut on YouTube. I did not click through to @SaddestNightOut's page.
But we will.
Yeah, we'll be curious to see what's going on there.
Yeah.
There were 5 questions. Number 2 out of the 5 was, who would you rather see get back together, Oasis or One Direction?
1, no bands should ever get back together.
Great. True.
More
Facts.
bands should break up.
Literally, are you in a band right now?
The coolest thing you could possibly do is break up and not get back together.
Not get back together. I don't ever, literally, first of all, break up. Don't send me a press release about it. Don't send a news article about it. Just break up. Just disappear. Go off into the ether. Let the numero group of 75 years from now rediscover you.
You hear that Sum 41 broke up?
No comment. No comment.
Oasis.
Yeah, okay. Obviously, it's Oasis.
It's obviously Oasis. But neither.
But also, have there been AI? This is where the AI thing. Has there been AI Oasis?
I bet there has.
There probably is, just not on our Discord community.
Yeah, it doesn't cross our For You pages.
Didn't make the fiber optic cables that connect across the ocean didn't make it.
It's just Oasis doing Blur and Blur doing Oasis.
Woo!
Right?
But this is you want to know what a use case is that's going to make us really, really vom, is when a label 10 to 15 years from now is big Oasis reunion record. We have all the stems, we have all the vocal tools, and we put Liam and Noel back together.
We only need 1 or 0.
Or 0. No, preferably 0. Yeah. Or actually what's more likely to happen is one of them will agree to be in it and say, the hell with it. We let the computer. That guy's no good anyway. A computer could do his job. That's actually, I'm going to call it now, like 10 years from now when like one of them ends up getting control of the catalog, they're literally going to be an interview with like NME or at the time or whatever the enemy of the day is. It's like, oh, so-and-so he's bollocks. It's terrible. I don't even need him. Like all we need is the computer and that's fine. Like, I'm the real star. That's going to happen.
Yep.
Just FYI, mark my words.
I really thought you would be holding your breath a little bit for a One Direction reunion, but we've been there. It's over.
It's only one good singer in One Direction.
Yeah, and it's Zayn.
Yes, that's 100% correct. Thank you so much.
Question number 3.
AI John. Totally knows what. Okay, question number 3. We're seeing screenwriters strike in the U.S. Could you see musicians ever striking in protest of streaming pay rates or ticket selling monopolies? Would bigger artists ever support such a move, or are they too much a part of the system? No.
I mean, like,
no.
Musicians,
no.
They are not organized.
They're so disorganized. They're not unionized in like a classical sense or in
organized in
sense.
all senses.
Yeah.
Music is always at the forefront of the devaluing of art and creativity.
It's the most mutable. It's the easiest to transmit. It's small data packet sizes.
It just keeps happening.
Yeah.
Nobody has been able to get people together. I mean, you've seen some pushes from songwriters in recent years. You have congressional hearings. Our colleague Ben Cesario has covered a lot of this stuff, licensing rates, all of that.
Can you imagine?
The numbers don't look good.
Okay, so the Supreme Court of like 2077, assuming that there is still like a democratic country.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court, assuming there is still like a judicial system, will be hearing the umpteenth lawsuit about AI scale rates.
Yeah. You're really hung up on this.
But I think it's going to happen.
Rates.
But it's true.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to happen. I think it's, look, what are you going to have? Taylor Swift testifying before Congress about this? Or maybe this is a slightly different version of the question. To bring it back to the AI thing. Who's likely to push back on AI? Is it the Taylor Swifts of the world, or is it to mention an indie musician who's like very active in this space, like the Damon Kurkowskis of the world? Mm-hmm. Who's likely to push back on the AI stuff and make sure that there's fairness, quote unquote, built into that system? Who do you think? Because a lot of times the fairness with pay rates and Spotify and things like that, it's the relatively little guy.
Yeah.
Because the big people are making so much money that, like, yes, could you make $4 million instead of $3 million? Yes, probably. But that's a lot less meaningful than someone making $4,000 as opposed to $3,000.
Right. I mean, I think the major artists are often self-interested. Look, you've seen Taylor push back against the launch of Apple Music, Ticketmaster in recent months. Mm-hmm. The selling of masters, the re-records. You have all these sort of pushes, but they are not collective movements. They are individual movements, and certain people can move corporations closer to them, and most musicians cannot.
Do you think that, much like the labels took a position in Spotify as a way of controlling the revenue streams and the economics of it, are the labels going to take a position in OpenAI or whatever, one of these big companies?
Of course. They're already pursuing this stuff as they're trying to play whack-a-mole with the bootleg stuff, with the unofficial stuff, with the machines that are learning on their IP without compensation, et cetera, et cetera. They are also building up their own versions of it, because that's where they got caught flat-footed with Napster, and it took a while for streaming to rise after that struggle. But like, this is, same thing with sampling. They will control it to the best of their ability, and the little guy will lose. And like, that trend in music has not been halted.
I guess I feel like if there's going to be pushback, protests, it's likely to come from the most famous, because I think those people, like in terms of like protecting their own intellectual property, are extremely vigilant.
Yeah.
Whereas other people might potentially see it as a mode of an alternate mode of promotion.
Shout out to Zubin.
Yeah. But someone who wants to control their own narrative at a pretty tight level might not look as kindly on it and might be the ones really pushing for reforms.
The question is, what happens once they get their way? Do they make sure that applies to everyone, or do they move forward with their W?
Haven't you read Marx, bro? All right. You want to have a snack?
I need a snack.
I think we should go to the pantry.
All right. We got some Japanese gummies, some soft candies.
Yeah.
Not going to pronounce it. Fruit soda, 4 flavors.
Yeah, that's Puchow, I think is the.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Not sponsored.
No, never sponsored.
Is there a variation on a high chew?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you gave me the whack one, but that's okay.
I got apple. You want to trade?
It's okay. Life is long.
What do you got?
Grape.
Low key, grape flavor, one of the best of everything.
Great.
You get a little texture. I love these. They're like not. It doesn't taste like food. It tastes like you accidentally ate the plastic, but the flavor is so good that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it reminds me texture-wise. You ever watch a home improvement show?
No.
And they're fair. And they're stripping the wire. There's like the coating of the wire, and they're stripping back the wire to me. Whatever that coating is, that's what this is.
You chewed on that?
Yeah.
Or you could just imagine.
I can just tell.
Yeah. Rough on the teeth, great on the tongue.
Too much labor. Would not cop again.
Score?
It's a 5. It's like a soft 6. It's like a 6 I won't go back to.
Okay. I'm gonna say 7.5, and I'll keep buying them.
That's our show. Every Popcast ever is at nytimes.com/Popcast. That includes Popcast Deluxe and also Original Recipe Popcast. This show is on youtube.com/@nytimes. Forever. That's where it's going to be. That's where we live. At nytimes. Email us, popcast@nytimes.com. Subscribe to Popcast anywhere you get your audio content, and that's Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Stitcher, etc. Get in the Discord, because we'll be taking questions from there. Get in the Facebook group.
Been loving the Discord lately.
It's
becoming a part of my daily habit.
I'm still learning.
Discord in general.
Yeah, I'm just like, I still don't feel totally at home, but like it is jumping for sure.
Yeah.
tinyurl.com/Popcast Discord or /Popcast Facebook. And get the stickers, get the t-shirts. It's the Popcast.myshopify.com. Joe, we'll be back next week.
Yeah, every week.
Every week.